Hello my beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. It's your favorite baby girl Winnie in the house once again. Like I promised, I'll be bringing you some content on food, and today is a cooking session. Guess what we are making? We are making an authentic Ghanaian okra stew made with meat, which is cow meat, cow skin, and some fish, which is salmon. Stay tuned, let's do this together. So for this recipe, you're going to be needing some saltpeter. That is it, nicely grinded. Then you have some peeled ginger and some garlic. Yes. Then this is my seasoning cube, and this is my momone, my stale fish. Yes, it's very important in this situation. Yes. This is my salt that I'll be adding to my food to make it taste nice. This is my cow meat. Yes, cow meat. So this is the meat I'll be using. Just look at how it has been cut to my specified sizes. Then I go over to okra. I have my garden eggs. I have my onion. I have my tomatoes. Yes, just two for some reason. And then I have my pepper. Yes, it was actually in the freezer. That's why it looks white. So seeing it was in the freezer. So that is it. That's my pepper for you. Yeah. Guys, one thing, don't forget the tomato shouldn't be too much. I'll explain why later. So this is the salmon I grilled some time back, and I posted the video. I'll be linking the video in the description box. This is how it looks after a day. So beautiful. Yes, so I'll be adding this salmon, and then this is my cow skin. Like I said, it's called wile in the local dialect. Wile. Yes, so that is it. I have 3 of it, and this is my palm oil. Very necessary. So the next step is to wash our meat very well. I advise you wash it more than once. It can be twice or 3 times, because we don't know the process or who touched the meat before it got to you. So you can see that I'm done washing. I washed mine twice, and then I'm done. And this is how the meat looks after washing it well cleaned, and this is the quantity I have. So it's time to cut our cow skin, which is the wile, into your preferred and desired sizes. This is me cutting them into my desired sizes, into my chewable sizes. Yes, so I'm done cutting it, and the next thing I'll be doing is to wash them. So I'll be transferring them into my washing bowl. One thing is that I already washed every ingredient before I started cooking, but for hygiene's sake, I would want to wash it again. Yes, so that is it. So as I said, I was going to wash the cow skin once again, and that is it. I'm done washing it, and this is how it looks together with the cow meat. So I'll be taking one of my onions, and I will be cutting it into dice sizes, because I'm going to be adding it to my meat, and then I'll be cooking it together with some shrimp seasoning. So that is how to cut it. It depends on you. Some people prefer to cut it big, but I prefer to cut it small. So that is how I do it. I'm done cutting, and I put the onion on the meat and the cow skin. Yes, so you put everything on the meat and cow skin, and then you add your shrimp seasoning. I'm actually adding just one of the shrimp seasoning, because I'll be adding another half to the stew itself. So that is it. So at this stage, I'm going to be blending my ginger, my garlic, and my pepper. So that is the ginger I am cutting over there. So I put it into the blender. I add my garlic. Sorry guys, I couldn't position the camera well, so you couldn't see me taking the garlic. And I'm adding my pepper. I didn't want my stew to be too peppery, so I didn't take all of the pepper. I left some. And I'll be adding my onion as well. I took 1 full onion, and I wanted to feel the taste of onion in the stew, so I added it to blend it. So that is it. So now to the ginger, garlic, pepper and onion, I'm going to be adding some amount of water to make it easy to blend. Yes, it's going to make blending very easy for me. So that is it. I add some and then it starts blending. So after blending, I blend into a smooth paste and then I divide it. I put some onto my meat and then cook it with it, and then I leave the rest for my okra stew. So this is the first half of it. I'm boiling my meat with some cube seasoning and then ginger, garlic, pepper, onion, and then I leave it to cook very well. Then I continue from there. So now I'm adding my tomatoes into my blended paste. After blending, I'll be keeping it for later. So that is it. It's now time to start cutting our garden eggs. Yes, we need this garden eggs in our stew. So we're cutting our garden eggs into, I prefer you cut it into the shape you like, but I prefer to cut it into squares. That is what works for me. So I divide it into the sizes I want and then I start cutting it.
You'll come to watch me dancing just for you. 깊은 바다 속에서 널 데리러 왔어. 어째 나는 이제 버려. 우린 함께할 네 모습이 보여. Will everything boil? Would you like to swim in the sky? 우리 멀리 떠나자. Cause baby 너 여기 밖은 좋아. Swimming, swimming, swimming like a bird. Dreaming, dreaming, I can fly to anywhere.
So after cutting my garden eggs, I'll be washing it to get rid of excess seeds. So that is what I'm doing, and I'll put it on fire for some time, then I'll add my okra later. So now I move straight to cutting the okra into the sizes I want. Like I always say, cut it into the sizes you want and you prefer. I prefer to cut it not too big, not too small, but I try as much as possible to make sure all sizes are the same. That way it becomes nicer when the food is done. So I continue cutting bit by bit until I am done cutting. So I move to the next one and then I cut. Don't forget to first cut off the head of the okra, the top part, which is the head of the okra, before you start cutting. So that is it. I cut off the head, I make my divisions, and then I start slicing or cutting it into the shape I prefer. Be careful when cutting so you do not hurt your fingers. You can as well use a grater to grate it if you want to be fast, but I prefer to cut it. Yes, so that is it. So I'm almost done cutting, and after I'm done cutting, I'm going to be adding it to the already garden eggs on fire, because I put it on fire for it to cook for a bit, because I don't want my okra to overcook. Too much cooking of the okra reduces this how slimy it can be. So that is it. So after cutting, I'll be checking on my meat. So now I check on my meat and then I find out that the meat is too hard, too tough. I checked and then I found out it was too tough. When I touched it, I found out it was too tough. To know it is soft, when you touch it, you can feel the softness. But now I found out it is too hard, so I add a bit of water to make it much softer while cooking. So that is the water I'm adding, not too much, but I want to have some water to add to my stew in order to make the okra stew just perfect. So I stir continuously to make sure that everything is properly mixed, and then I cover it back on. Now it's time to add your okra to your garden eggs. Don't forget you place it on fire for some time to cook a bit before you added your okra. So after putting in your okra, you just add a bit of saltpeter. Remember, don't add too much because you don't want your okra stew turning out too dark than you want it to be. The saltpeter helps it to enhance how slimy it is. A Nigerian man will say, make it draw. Yes, so that is it. It's now time to start our stew. I already placed my pot on the fire, kept it a bit hot, and then I poured in my palm oil actually. So after I poured in my palm oil, I waited for a few minutes for it to get hot and melt, and then I'll be adding my stale fish, which is momone in the local dialect. So that is the oil getting hot on its own, and then I'm adding my stale fish at this point. Yes, I had to add to because I wanted the power from it to actually be seen in it and be tasted in the okra. So I'm adding my stale fish, and I'm going to be frying it before I add in my onion. I make sure I fry it well enough to make sure there is no juice in it. It's really dry before I add in it's optional to use your spoon to do this, but you wouldn't want to be chewing the stale fish when eating your okra. So it's better you scatter it in it. How do I say scatter it? Now, after it fries well enough, it's time to add your sliced onions. Don't forget we left some half onion there. It was for the stew. So you add it and then you stir well. It's now time to check on the okra. I stir to make sure that the saltpeter is evenly distributed. Don't mind using the same spoon because in the end, you're going to be adding the okra to the stew. So there is no problem using the same cooking spoon to stir both. So that is it. Now it's time to add our blended pepper, ginger, garlic, onion, and tomatoes. That is it. Don't forget, one trick is if you're making okra stew, don't put in too much sauce. Don't let the tomato in the stew be too much because tomato tends to prevent your okra from being slimy. That is something that happens. So that's why I took just 2 pieces of tomato and small ones, and that is it. So you can have enough of onion, enough of pepper, enough of ginger and garlic, but make sure you don't take too much of tomato. So I pour it and then I stir, and then I leave it to cook. So that is it. I leave it to cook. So now, as you can see, the water in the stew has already dissolved. It is nowhere to be found. I would say it has vanished. Yes. So it's time to add your meat. Yes. Remember, you have to check on your meat. When we added the water, after some time I checked and the meat was okay. So I took it off fire, and then it's time to add it. We don't want a super thick consistency. So I'm going to be adding a bit of water into the pot to rinse it so that I have a thick plus light consistency, not too thick, not too light. So this is it. You add a bit of water into your pot, you rinse the excess stock in it, and then you add it to your stew. That is it. You add it, you make sure you get rid of all the excess stock. It's all needed, it's all important, it's all money. So you add it to your stew, you stir evenly, make sure the water has evenly distributed, and then you leave it to cook. Now, after some time, it's time to add the salmon. Hope you remember this salmon. This salmon was what I did and I posted some time ago. I'll be leaving the link in the description box. So this is my homemade salmon. I don't want to have the bones in there, so I had to debone it by dividing it and then bringing out the bones. So that is it. I'll be using two of it, but I won't be adding the head because I'll be using the head for something else. The meat in this food is actually too much, so that is it. I'm deboning it and I'm adding the salmon to it. I make sure no bone gets into it because I don't want to be choked while eating it. And then afterwards I stir. Yes, so like I'm adding the other one. Like I said, I used just 2 pieces and I left the head. So that is it. You have to add it, debone it very well. You can decide to actually put the whole fish in it if you want it that way, but I decided to break it into pieces and then put it inside. Now after putting it, I stir once again and then I taste for salt. After tasting for salt, I realized I needed to add a bit more salt. It's better, like I always say, to add in salt gradually than to add in salt at once. So this is just a pinch of it. I didn't add too much because I didn't want my stew to be salty. Don't forget that you added salt into your meat when boiling it. So I add the salt, leave it to cook for some time, and then it's time to add our okro. So that is it. You add your okro. This time there's no need to rinse it because your stew already has the consistency you need. You don't have to add too much water. Too much water as well makes the slime of the okra reduce. Yes, so I stir evenly to make sure the stew distributes evenly with the okra. I mix it so well. So that is it. Make sure you're gentle and don't over mix. Don't mix. Be gentle when mixing. If don't be gentle when mixing so that you don't break your fish. Yes, and then so that you don't reduce how slimy the okra is. This is how best you can mix your okra. So that is it. Can you see how nice this looks? This looks so yummy, and I bet the taste will come out so well. So I'll be leaving it on fire for about 5 minutes just to make sure that everything cooks really well. Just 5 minutes, and then as you can see, it's boiling, it's cooking. So after I see that it's cooking for a bit, I then turn off the fire and take it off fire. Voila! As you can see, I have this pear banku. I had this in the fridge. I just had to microwave it, and this is what I'll be washing this delicious okra down with. Yes, so that is my banku. This thing actually can go with anything of your choice, but I prefer banku, so this is it. So lovely. This brings us to the end of today's video. Kindly subscribe, share, like, and comment. Love you all. Bye.